What is going on, YouTube land? Everybody and their mom wants to be out today. Thanksgiving. Anyways. I'm gonna put new suspension on the Mark 6 today. Keep it from looking like a freaking lifted minivan. This is my hoopty, my daily. Hopefully get some low. But before we do any of that, let me take you for a ride so we can talk about this 150,000 mile plus suspension. This is a 2013 Jetta Sportwagen TDI with the DSG. I bought it with 148,000 miles on it. It's now got 156,217 miles. Immediately when I bought the car, I had to do the timing belt, service the DSG, do an oil change, all that other stuff. Then shortly after that, the DPF died. But luckily, it was covered under the warranty because the whole Dieselgate stuff. But at this point, we're just rocking stock suspension. I got the stock suspension on some Audi A6 wheels. They're 18 by 8s. I want to say the offset is a plus 44. They look pretty good on the car. I'm a really big fan. When I bought them, they were kind of rashed up, so I just went ahead and scuffed the surfaces up, blended out the curb rash, and then painted it with some high temp engine enamel. Because they were a $400 set of wheels that came with tires. I'm not really trying to invest a lot of money in them. I mean, they look pretty good and they satisfy my needs, but there's no point in really investing a lot in them. And that kind of ties back to not anything I've spoken about, but about this car. Since I bought it with so many miles, and it's got an ugly ass fender, and it needed a timing belt and all that other stuff. I only paid $3,800 for the car, which, like, if you know anything about this TDI market, that honestly is a pretty good deal. So anyway, so far what I've got invested into this car is the timing belt maintenance. Like I said, I bought a timing belt tool. I serviced the DSG, changed the oil. I actually recently just did the front and rear brakes. Obviously had to bleed the brake system. Other than that, though, this car has been phenomenal. I'm going to get the first alignment on it after I do the suspension install, just because, it needs it. I'm about to go to the end of this road over here and show you all some before stuff, a little before video of the ride height. And honestly, I gotta say, I gotta give it to Volkswagen. At 156,000 miles on stock suspension, everything is still like what this car came with in 2013 from the factory is still on the car. It's pretty clean. The only thing with this car is I think it was neglected by one of its owners. I think I'm like the 6th owner or something like that. It's a daily though, but it was definitely neglected by somebody. That's why it's got this gross front left fender on here, and somebody jacked it up in the wrong location. So that's nice. But other than that, it's fairly clean. It's good enough to take me to and from work. I've put 7,000 miles on it with no issues. So anyways, let's get parked and I will show you all the car. I didn't really want to do it in my garage with the door open because people are doing yard work, people are cooking, people are doing all sorts of stuff, and it would just be a loud, obnoxious environment for me to talk over. So we'll just come somewhere where it's nice and quiet and secluded. anyways, I'll give you guys actual fender to ground measurements and then fender to hub measurements once I get back to the garage. So the coilovers I went with is a company out of California called WRD. I think that it's Watercooled Racing Development. I found out about them through VW Vortex a long time ago, and I just kind of knew about them for quite some time. Everybody reviewed them pretty well for a discount coilover. I think shipped to my front door, it was like roughly like $600. They were having a sale. The fronts came assembled with 034 like heavy durometer strut mounts or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, they came pre-assembled, $600 shipped to my front door. They're well reviewed. I'm gonna try them out because, like I said, I'm not super invested in this car. I've done all the maintenance myself. It's a budget car. It's an A to B car. But obviously, like, if you're like me, I don't like to leave things stock. Everything's got to have a little something done. That's just the way that I am. Doesn't matter what it is. Anything that has an engine is going to be modified. But yeah, kind of funny story about these wheels. I had the Audi center caps, they're gloss black. Took it to Volkswagen to have them do the DPF, and they lost one of my freaking caps. It was really awesome. And I just haven't ordered a new set of center caps because it's like, really? I'm gonna pay $20 for 4 more, but I only need 1. And you can't just buy one individually. So I'm just rocking it like this for now. Some of my future plans for this thing is really basic stuff. I really want to replace this front left fender because it is just, look at how nasty this is. This is such a piece of crap. Somebody did a really terrible Bondo job and it looks atrocious. It's so bad. I want to say that somebody bought this bumper because this did have an accident on it, unfortunately. But the radiator support's all cracked up. It's a piece of shit. And then this front bumper here is somewhat off-colored. Like when certain light hits it, it's definitely not the same color as the rest of the car. And then on top of that, look at this bullshit. This is just from a pressure washer, man. I barely did anything to this, but this just tells me that someone did a shitty ass repaint. They didn't even prime it. So, or maybe that's how they come from the factory. I don't think so. Maybe someone can correct me, but shitty ass job. Anyway, gonna fix that. And then yeah, that's really it. But with those two things, right? So what I'm thinking about doing is getting some rep side skirts just from eBay. Because like I said, this is a discount car. I'm not spending good money on this. I'll paint everything myself. Do an eBay front left fender and then do a GTI front bumper. And I think all that, with this being like, not like scraping, but pretty low, I'm gonna get rid of all the wheel gap. I want this to be up in here. So all of this is going to go away. I plan on having just a slight bit of tuck. Not enough to where I'm pulling my fenders out, but it definitely is gonna be changed. But anyways, let's get back to the house. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the rears and then work with my way to the fronts because I know the fronts are gonna be annoying. So start with the easy bit first. Back at the house, funnily enough, I left and everybody went away. But here is this side, and we are at roughly, our fender to ground is just under 27 inches.
for the rear. Okay. And our fender to ground on the front is roughly right over 26 and a half, right under 26 and a half. All right, let's see what our hub, these are rough estimates, guys. These are not exact. Don't judge me. Somebody's gonna be like, that's not how you do it. Well, this is how I'm doing it. And that it's not exact, it's not gonna be perfect because I've gotta be the cameraman and measure all at the same time. So I'm gonna say roughly right under 15 inches for the hub to the fender. And then for this dude, let's check it out. We're at a little bit over 14. A little bit over 14. So we'll measure it post lowering. Like I said, my plan is get rid of this wheel gap. There shall be none left. Doing a wheel gap delete. Real quick before I get started on anything, I wanted to show you all exactly how the coils come. Obviously I've already opened up this packaging. Everything was packaged individually, but something that I find neat when like any company does this, bang, candy, bang, 1 sticker, bang, 2 stickers. So got the other side done, which I'll show you guys an after shot of this once this side's done. This is the back right. So what I noticed, which would make it the easiest way, I'm sure that there's plenty of DIYs out there, yada yada. Anyways, remove that bolt first and then work this guy out and then take this bolt out and then take these 2 out. And doing it in that order makes it so smooth. And then obviously, whenever you're reinstall these 2 loosely, then put this guy in all the way, then tighten these 2 down all the way, then obviously put your spring in with your little isolator for the bottom part, and then bolt that sucker up, put your wheel on, and there you go. So here is our coilover installed. Obviously you see the new spring with the little adjustment, perch, whatever, collar. And then you have your little isolator there and your shock. I just went ahead and reused this stuff. Tried to go as cheap as possible. We'll see how it rides. I just replaced the necessary stuff like the bolts for everything, all the stretch hardware. But anyway, I'm gonna lower it back to the ground. So real quick before I do that, what I did is, as far as the threads are concerned, this is 1/2 of an inch. You can kind of see where it angles off right here and then it goes into the threads. So that is 1/2 of an inch. And I did that for both sides. Because like I said, I want this thing to be borderline tucking. And I think that I honestly may even need to lower it further than where it's at. Obviously we'll see how it sits after the front's done. But yeah, show you guys how the back looks in just a second. The new fender to ground height is a whopping, what is that, 25 3/4, just about. Like I said, I want to be tucking some more. I would still like to get rid of that wheel gap. I'm gonna let the suspension settle, obviously, before I make any more adjustments, because I do think that it's going to probably drop like 1/4, like 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch. And you can kind of see how much the rear has been brought down. About to knock out the fronts. I think it's gonna look pretty good. I'm pretty stoked on this. Can't really go wrong with putting coils on a Mark 6. I mean, it's gonna look good even if the coilovers are a discount coilover. All right, so this is the following day. It's no longer Thanksgiving. Had to take a break. Obviously, spent time with the fam, all that good stuff. The order that I would take this apart is I would remove everything down here. This is for you all that are doing it next time. I know that there's plenty of better mechanics than I, but the way that I did it was remove this bolt, remove the sway bar end link, remove the CV axle, and then loosen the ball joint nuts, take those off, and then remove the tie rod end from the knuckle. Then I put my strut separator tool in the knuckle, and I just beat the shit out of it. Slash let the weight of the steering knuckle come down and separate it. And that was the only way I was able to get the old strut out of here. So obviously normal sockets, and then that guy, that was my best friend, because even whenever reinstalling this, I put everything back in the you know, the opposite order of what I took it out, and then I used my jacked the bottom of the rotor slash steering knuckle, and just beat the hell out of this thing. Obviously you don't want to take like a hammer to it, because you'll really mess up the body of the strut. So your mallet is your best buddy. But anyways, this front side was really annoying. I knew the front was going to be a pain in the butt, and it was. So I'm going to go ahead and knock out the other side, and then I'll show you guys what my fender to ground is. Oh, also, so I put the collars on the rear 1/2 of an inch. So I did the same thing essentially on the front. From right there to the bottom of this collar is 1/2 of an inch. So hopefully I get the load that I want. I know I'm gonna have to wait for the springs to settle, but hopefully after everything is all said and done, she'll be pretty low. Finally done with everything. You gotta remove that little shroud, and then obviously take the steering knuckle totally off of the car, essentially, other than the lines. Yeah, the biggest thing I'd say that made it the easiest was to just take a bunch of stuff off. I took the rain tray out and everything to get to the hardware. Everything's closed up at this point, but anyway, about to do the final torques on these guys. And I'll do that once the car's on the ground and I can use the weight of the car against it. So this is what I'm dealing with. I don't know, something's up with the Volkswagen battery, but got to use my Cummins to jump the damn thing. Anyways, you can see what she looks like right now. Pretty low. I'm either going to need to bring the rear down a little bit, or I'm gonna have to bring the front up. I really like how that front looks though, so I'm thinking I'll probably just bring down the rear. I'll show you guys a fender to ground shot in just a second. I'm gonna go drive it around first, let the springs settle a little, and then, yep. All right, so going for a little cruise, bringing you all with me. I think last time, or last shown was when the car was being jumped by my Cummins. I've been having some like weird charging issues, but at the same time, this car wasn't driven for like 10 days, so I'm kind of thinking that that's potentially the issue. Anyways, gonna go to this little spot up here where I walked around initially to show you all the car. Show you how it looks right now. My alignment really isn't that bad, which is kind of funny because I took the steering knuckle totally off. here it is. Hopefully the GoPro picks up really how low the car is. It's not slammed. It's more low in the front. I've still got quite a bit of wheel gap right here. So I guess I'll just have to lower the rears a little bit more because I'm not really into that slammed front end and raised rear end look. I think that's kind of tacky, so I'm definitely gonna need to bring the rears down. But I think the fronts are like almost perfect where they're at. I really like how the fronts look. That rear fitment is okay, but so far what I have to say is those WRDs, they're not super hard, which is like a good thing because a lot of cheap coilovers are super stiff, man. This honestly rides like my stock suspension rode. But with that being said, I'll do an actual more proper review of them when the time comes, maybe after a couple thousand miles, because right now I've maybe put 10 miles on these coilovers, so my assessment is not a fair one. But I am really stoked with how this thing looks. I love wagons, so obviously I think it looks so badass. Super stoked with how it looks. We'll get a solid side shot. The sun's kind of messing everything up. Yeah, it's pretty badass. Looks good. And then once I get those side skirts and the GTI front bumper, it'll be even more sick. Real quick, I wanted to show you guys my rubbage if I just drive it like normal. Woo! I can avoid that if I want to. I just think it's kind of hilarious, like how much it actually does rub. You know, just got to take turns differently, or not. It doesn't matter. You can just send it and let it be that way. But here's another turn I'm going to show you all. Let's see if it rubs. I bet it does. It's pretty funny. Here we go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. A little bit darker now. Back at the house. Let's do that. Fender to ground. All right, so for the front, a little bit under 24.5 inch. That's pretty legit. Let's check the rear. A little bit under 26 inches. The rear is definitely going to be coming down a little bit more. Probably want the rear fender to be sitting right around 25 inches. You can see 25. That's probably where I'm going to set it at. So I got a 1/2 inch left of threads on the rear coilover, so I'll probably bring it down that much. Yeah. Something that just happened right now, which is hilarious, is the latching mechanism in my hatch just died. Yep. That's awesome. Anyways, this is what you get when you buy a discount car. Anyways,